guys, welcome back to another episode of One Fast Streetcar. I'm Jude, and behind me is my does anybody know? Because everybody that comes up to me doesn't seem to know exactly what this car is. I've gotten Toyota Supra, I've gotten Porsche, I've gotten Mazda RX-7, I've even gotten that Back to the Future car. So no, it is not any of those cars. This is my 1987 Chrysler Conquest, and I'm about to give a full review, so stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we get started, I wanted to just give a shout out to Devin. He was the winner of our trivia that we had from the pop-up headlights video. The question was, what was the very first car to ever have pop-up headlights? And that was the 1936 Cord 810. So congratulations, Devin. By now you should have actually got the hat and the decal that I sent you, and just giving a quick shout out. Before I get started with the review behind me, I wanted to also just mention to anybody who's new to the channel, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn those notifications on so that you get the new content that I'm putting out each week. So this is my 1987 Conquest behind me, and I was not lying when I said that I get so many compliments, questions, everything around this car. I mean, I really believe that this car is one of those lost 1987, I should say 1980s cars that you just don't see every day. So, and it's true. I've had people ask me, is this the Back to the Future car? I've said, you know, is this a Porsche? You name it, I've pretty much gotten it. And I actually had this car back in 1992. I got this car. It was actually a Mitsubishi Starion, and it's this car is basically the same exact car as that, except it's just been rebranded as Chrysler. This car came with about, I think it was 176 horsepower right from the factory, staggered wheels. This car had automatic seat belts in it, as you can see, and one thing I think is very unique and very ahead of its time is, if everybody can see, this car had radio controls on the steering wheel. I mean, that was just almost unheard of in 1987. So I really think that this car was way ahead of its time compared to some of the sports cars of that era. And those would be the Supra, the RX-7, the Porsche, those smaller sports cars, not really comparing it to the muscle cars of that day. But this car is just one of those cars, you just don't see many of these on the road. And if you do, they're usually not in this good of condition. And this car is definitely not perfect. I mean, it's got some flaws in it, but it really is in pretty good shape for being a 30-year-old car. These rims are actually in really good condition. They are original, and they really look great. They really, I would say, date this car back into that 80s mag type wheel. The back of this car still has the Conquest TSi decal on there, and you can see that this car still says Mitsubishi Motors on it from the manufacturer. The sunroof on this car has been, I believe that this is an aftermarket sunroof. I could not tell you if this is an original manufacturer installed sunroof or not, but I believe it's aftermarket. I've had this car for about a year now, and when I first got this car, it definitely needed a little bit of work. The car itself, I mean, the outside was pretty much the same. I haven't really touched the outside too much, but the inside, the turbo, needed some serious work. I had this put on the dyno as soon as I got it. It made 96 horsepower to the wheels, which I know was well less than what the original car, back in 1987 was putting out back in those days. So we knew right away that we had a serious power problem. I did go ahead and have the turbo rebuilt, and we threw it back up on the dyno, and this car made 176 horsepower to the wheels, which is actually more than it made back in the day. And in today's standards, this car is really not a very fast car. So this car is a 5-speed. It does have the original radio in here, and if you notice, it has a tape deck. This tape deck does not work, but I don't think I'm going to be replacing this radio because of that, because I simply don't have any tapes to put in it. If you notice too, this car does have a cigarette lighter. I know this goes back way before this car, but the cigarette manufacturers were good for one thing, and that is that cars still have a place to charge your phone and charge your other devices. Not sure if without cigarettes we would have probably had that in some cars, but who knows. I don't know if anybody can see, but the temperature controls on this are digital. It does have the door handles on this are kind of weird. I don't remember this back in the day when I had this car before, but you have to lock the car from the outside in order to lock the car. So if I lock this car now, it will stay locked, but so I can't open it. But if I go ahead and try to lock it and then close it, you notice that lock pops back open. So I didn't remember that when I had this car back in the 90s, but now it's kind of a pain in the butt. You always have to get out your key to lock your doors. This car does have automatic Seatbelts, which are little, I would say they're probably ahead of its time as well. This didn't actually stick. I thought everybody thought that this would be cool, but if you notice, when you get in the car, not only do you have to let the automatic seatbelt go on, but then you have to pull the lap belt on as well. So even though it's kind of an automatic thing, you still have to do that lap belt in order to be fully safe. And on top of that, this is definitely a little quirk. This is your lift for emergency exit seat belt release. Push down belt release lever, it says. That's definitely, as Doug DeMuro would say, very quirky. One other thing to notice about this car, look real good. See anything missing? No cup holders in this car, which I didn't even remember that when I had this car back in high school. So there's nothing in the doors. The doors have this little storage compartment, which really would be able to fit nothing but, I would say, papers. So they really did not think through the aspect of everyday life in this car. I really couldn't believe when I got this car again that it had no cup holders. So definitely something that I had forgotten about, and that I think I appreciate even more today. This car does have back seats in it as well. They're not that big, but yes, it does have back seats. So you can fit 4 people in here. I wouldn't say very comfortably, but yes, you can definitely get 4 people in this car. And lastly, in the interior of the car, one of the things I pointed out in my last video, but I just cannot get enough of those pop-up headlights. Love those. This is a quick look at that 4-cylinder turbo engine with the new wastegate. You can see that that's new, and the newly rebuilt turbo right there. But it's pretty clean for being 30 years old. This is a pretty clean car. Let's take this 87 Conquest for a spin. Hey, thank you for tuning in and watching. Your support's been great. I hope you appreciate all the footage that I had and the review on this 1987 Conquest. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, make sure you turn those notifications on so you're getting the latest and greatest content as I start putting out the videos. I do have some more mods coming for the twin turbo Mustang. So until next time, thanks a lot.